Hour 102 Digital.
It is Monday, 11th December 2023. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is News to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is for a third time the subject of an investigation by the Integrity Commission. Dr. Rowley has accused the Integrity Commission of deliberately attempting to tarnish his reputation. He's being investigated by the IC for allegedly breaching the Integrity in Public Life Act, and the second time since becoming Prime Minister, this time in connection with allegations that contracts awarded to a company owned by his friend Alan Warner were not above board. The Prime Minister did not hold back and said, quote, "The Integrity Commission is acting in concert with others and is deliberately attempting to tarnish my reputation by attempting to find ways to associate me with contracts and awards that I have had absolutely nothing to do with." In a letter dated November 23rd, the IC confirmed decisions to begin an independent probe. The letter was captioned, "Commencement of investigation into potential breaches of the Integrity in Public Life Act, Chapter 2201, arising from the award of contracts to Mr. Alan Warner and or companies with which he's affiliated or associated or has interests therein." Funeral arrangements for former PNM MP Marlene McDonald are still being finalized, but members of the constituency, which she once represented, Port of Spain South, begins 3 days of activities in memory of her from today. A condolence book will be opened for signing at the MP's office in Port of Spain today and tomorrow. They'll be lighting up one dedicated street from each electoral district in Port of Spain as a show of unity and recognition of McDonald's work in the constituency. On Wednesday, there'll be a memorial service at the Port of Spain City Hall from 7 p.m. McDonald died last Friday after ailing for some time. He's survived by 2 brothers, a sister, 2 nieces who live abroad but are currently in TNT to make funeral arrangements. She served as an MP and government minister from 2007 to 2019 in the Patrick Manning and Dr. Keith Rowley administrations. Media reports from St. Vincent on Thursday say a meeting at 10 a.m. is scheduled between President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and Guyana's President, Dr. Irfan Ali, to discuss the ongoing border conflict in St. Vincent. It said the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, the heads of state of CARICOM, and the Brazilian President, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, will preside over the discussions. Dr. Gonzalez is reported as saying both leaders have agreed with him for such a meeting to be held under the auspices of CELAC. Opposition Member of Parliament Dr. Rudan Monilal said St. Vincent must be commended for what he described as its display of maturity in facilitating both leaders in a bid to resolve differences. He reiterated the point made on the UNC political leaders of the country have mediated in the conflict between Guyana and Venezuela. However, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley explained why this move should not be pursued at a news briefing on Friday, adding Guyana did not request it, but decided to rely on the International Court of Justice, while Guyana did not recognize, or Venezuela did not recognize the ICJ. Speaking at a news briefing on Sunday at the UNC headquarters in Chaguanas, Dr. Monilal took note of the stance adopted by St. Vincent. A full investigation has been launched by the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority and the Guyana Police Force into a crash of the Bell 412 helicopter, which occurred last Wednesday near the border between Guyana and Venezuela. This confirmed by Brigadier Omar Khan, Chief of Defense Staff in Guyana. 5 of the 7 occupants in the Guyana Defense Force helicopter who disappeared on Wednesday between Arua and Escuri in the region, and 7 died after the aircraft crashed in the jungle, the Army has confirmed. The Guyana Defense Force said the black box recording device in a military helicopter has been found and will assist in determining the exact reason for the crash, which resulted in the deaths of the 5 GDF soldiers. More red flags and questions are again being raised about spent shells bearing markings TTR and TTPS. These insignia are usually indicating the ammunition is registered to the Trinidad Tobago Regiment and the Trinidad Tobago Police Service, respectively. The TTPS reported 24 spent 9mm shells were found at the scene, and the number of 6 of the shells had markings of TTR, while 4 spent shells had TTPS markings. The sources indicated inside both institutions have raised concerns as similar shells have been discovered over the last week and months near crime scenes in the country. The vacancies for deputy commissioners of police will be debated when the House of Representatives sits on December 13th. The order paper contains the submissions from the Police Service Commission with the 3 senior police officers for Parliament to debate to fill 3 vacancies for deputy commissioners of police. The shortlisted candidates are expected to be debated in Parliament on December 13th. According to the order paper, Senior Superintendents Wanda Lucas, Junior Benjamin, and Natasha George were shortlisted as the 3 top candidates by the Police Service Commission. And finally, a senior UN aid official has warned half of Gaza's population is starving as fighting there continues. Carl Sakiu, Deputy Director of the UN World Food Programme, says only a fraction of supplies needed have been able to enter the Strip. 9 out of 10 people cannot eat every day. Sakiu said conditions in Gaza have made deliveries almost impossible. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We'll have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
On this 11th day of December, 14 days to Christmas. Yep, 2 weeks from today, it'll be Christmas Day, and then New Year's Day, 21 days away. Thank you so much for joining us on Power 102 Digital. It is the Power Breakfast Show. Full casting this morning. We just did from Paul Richards with our news brief. Evie will come in at 7 o'clock for major news. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen, Richard Raghubarasingh. We got Ruben in the mix. My name is Steve Kahn. Getting straight into the WTs, see what's happening. No school. School is officially closed. Let's see. I got the slow traffic by Wassing, St. Augustine, passing Uriah Butler Highway, heading westbound. There's some volume. Nothing out in the west, nothing on the Solo, nothing on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway. It is clear. That's going to change in a short. All right, well, let's get into our weather now. It is 24 degrees at Piarco International Airport, 25 in our beautiful sister isle of Tobago, Crown Point to be exact, where the weather is going to be like for today. Sunshine will at times be interrupted by the odd showery spell. Low, 20% chance of heavy shower. All right, maximum forecast temperature for today would be 32 at Piarco, 31 in Crown Point. And checking some temps across our listenership. Toronto, you're sitting at 1 degree, a high of 2. Miami, 21. Orlando, 13. New York, you're sitting at 6 with a drizzle, a high of 10. Atlanta, you're at 1, same as Toronto, a high of 9. London, you're at 10. Your high will be 1 degree more than that. Tampa, 13. Washington, D.C., it's 2 degrees. Our listener out in L.A., who is in our shows in TNT right now, it's 14 degrees. All right? And that's your WTs. Let's use Santa's hellos first thing this morning on Facebook and on YouTube. I'll start there. Oliver Man Warren, Ewart Rajpal, good morning. Wayne B. in Covington, Georgia. Marcia Rock, Richard M. Jeremiah, good morning. Wendy and James, Rena Boodoo Jennings, Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Mo Gaines out in Aruka. On WhatsApp, we got Michael across the pond in London. All right, so that's some folks. You two can send us a WhatsApp at 318-1021 or messages via Facebook and YouTube. All right, I say good morning to you, gentlemen. What's shaking?
Good morning.
Morning. Glad to see you're back, safe and sound.
Yep, morning.
Morning, Wendell.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's kind of iffy morning here in Arima. It looks like it wants to rain, and it may rain. I'm not sure what the weather predictions are like for this week.
Sun today, mostly sunny.
I'm hoping it's sunny for the entire week.
Yeah.
All right. So we're happy to be in the land of the living. Condolences to those who would have lost loved ones. Of course, Marlene McDonald passed on Friday. Friday afternoon. So she was former member of Parliament for Port-au-Spain South, and of course, former minister, whom I had a long relationship with since she came into politics in 2007. She was my MP, of course, and of course, I was the chairman of the constituency during her tenure, and of course, most recently. So you know, a lot of tributes have been pouring in for her over the last few days. I did speak with her husband Michael, and I think the funeral he's trying to get it done for Thursday. But there are some tributes that Port-au-Spain South constituency will be doing starting from today. And if I could just be allowed to say what they are, it starts with signing of a register. That's at the Piccadilly Street office of the Member of Parliament. Tomorrow, a street in each one of the districts will be lit in her honor. The councillors of each of the districts will coordinate that event. And on Wednesday, a memorial service will be held at City Hall from 7 p.m., where light refreshments will be served after the dedication. All right. So those are the three events that the Port-au-Spain South constituency will be hosting in honor of their former MP and Minister Marlene McDonald, former MP Marlene McDonald, sorry. And the party itself, I'm sure, will also put out some dedications. But those are the dedications of the Port-au-Spain South constituency, where she was MP for 13 years, 2007 to 2020. And then, of course, she was still part of the executive up until her death on Friday. All right. So just thought I should, as more information comes to hand, I will be able to update the listeners about what's happening. You know, but
I think some people have been having, you know, ambivalent emotions toward Marlene McDonald since her passing. On one hand, she certainly did a lot for Port-au-Spain South, you know, a long-standing MP, and would have significantly contributed to life and development in Trinidad and Tobago. On the other hand, she passed in some sort of infamy, having been charged, you understand?
Yeah.
On several counts.
She had charges hanging over her.
Yeah. So is a kind of ambivalent feeling toward Marlene. While, I mean, the praises about her work in the constituency and generally are extremely appropriate. There's that fact that nobody could deny that she ended up at the end of her political career in ignominy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but it's a fact of her life.
Yeah, because Marlene, I can only be honest. Marlene if you ever see the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, well, that was Marlene McDonald. You understand? She rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. She ended political careers of people because of whatever reason, but she also helped a tremendous amount of people, you know? So that's just how she was.
And then that's why I said it's important. I mean, it's a difficult kind of tribute to navigate.
Yeah.
When you're navigating tributes to Marlene McDonald, because you can't pretend, because I'm looking at Facebook and I'm saying, and social media, I'm saying, this is a little weird to navigate. People don't want to be condemnatory.
Yeah.
Because she's passed under sad circumstances. She was 60-something years old, you know?
64.
Yeah. But on the other side of it, she did some good work too, you know?
Plenty good work. I could attest to a lot of the good work that she did. You understand? I can attest to that.
But it doesn't take away from the other side of it. I mean, she ended her life with some very serious charges hanging over her head.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, her husband, had he also been charged?
I think he was, you know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what those charges
and somebody else, you know.
Yeah.
So may she rest in peace, you know.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, at people's death, you try as best as possible to just remember the good that they would have done. Because
Really?
I mean that's tradition in anybody, even in maybe even in Hitler's that try to remember the good that he did, But it happens. But as I said, she did a lot for Port of Spain South. She was very passionate about the constituency of Port of Spain South, regardless of what she may have done with other people. She did a lot for Port of Spain South. She did a lot for the People's National Movement too. Because she took over as chief whip when the government went into opposition, when the PNM went into opposition in 2010, and she ran that parliament with a very, very firm.
She was a formidable lady. She wasn't no feather girl. She was a formidable lady, personality, intellect, otherwise,
Yes.
She wasn't one to be played with lightly.
Nope.
Let me tell you.
No.
I had some conversation with her because we sat on 2 joint select committees together, and she was always very pleasant. But I didn't have a lot of interaction with her, to be honest, just in those circumstances.
Yeah. With me, I don't think she ever called me Wendell. It was always Mr. Stephen or Mr. Chairman. I don't think she ever called me Wendell. Yeah. Or Councillor Alderman. It was always Mr. Stephen or Mr. Chairman. That was it. You understand? And I always called her Miss McDonald. Or MP. Even after she ceased being MP, I used to be calling her MP still. You understand? We had a checkered relationship too, I have to say, because she was I ceased being a councillor because of her. And then immediately after that, she made me chairman. So she was a difficult person to navigate sometimes. Let's say it this way.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. She was a difficult person.
As many people are.
But she was generous because she would quarrel. She would call me and say, I'm not contributing to that. And then after that, she'd say, pass and collect so and so now, or dropping out so and so for you. That's how she was. You understand? That's exactly how she was. And when she had a problem with me as chairman, she used to say, this would have never happened under former chairman, Gene Elder. So I knew that was my cue, that she wasn't pleased with something. Then the other day, she called me. She needs somebody to help her with her gardening. Well, help Michael with the gardening, right? Because she needed Michael was the person who would take care of the yard. She had lots of plants. She said she needed help. I got somebody. Guess what's the person name who I get now? Wendell. The guy named Wendell. 2 months after he called me quarreling, I said, brother man, if she didn't want you, trust me, she'd have run you a long time. That is when she like you, is when she just buff you and tell you what to do the next time you come.
May she rest in peace.
Yeah.
Interesting news coming out of this Guyana-Venezuela impasse. There's been some sort of intervention, and the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and the president of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, are due to meet in St. Vincent on Thursday at 10 a.m.
Yes, I saw that.
So, I mean, and it comes at the intervention of CELAC, the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva will preside over the discussions. Dr. Gonzalez in newspapers reported as saying both leaders have agreed to such a meeting held under the auspices of CELAC, of whom St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a pro-tempore president, right? Which is good news. The Guyanese president is saying, good morning, Richard, that
Good morning, guys.
Morning, Richard.
He's not prepared to discuss any border issue at that meeting. And the present border arrangements, as he knows it, will remain the same. So don't bring me there to talk about no border moving, in other words. Okay? But I think it is a move in the positive direction to get them both out of their own countries and out of the media, battling it out. One say one today, because I mean, I've never followed Kaito News so much. Kaito News like Guardian Express and News there to me now. They want to see what the update is, because of course I could talk a little bush Spanish, but I can't read Spanish that well. So it is interesting to see that this development has taken place, and I mean, kudos to the people who are able to bring them together.
Well, certainly to get Nicolas Maduro in to agree to anything like that is an achievement. You understand?
I'm wondering whether the the emergency meeting that CARICOM heads had, that was one of the agreed points, that they would do it through St. Vincent and Rav Gonzalez.
Oh, okay.
Because the emergency meeting was on Friday, and you haven't had any media reports as to what transpired in that particular meeting. And then a couple of days later, or 48 hours later, or whatever it was, the St. Vincent Prime Minister, Rav Gonzalez, coordinates the mediation of Venezuela and Guyana in St. Vincent. So it seems so close to that emergency meeting, and I don't think that Rav Gonzalez would do it without some sort of CARICOM sanction.
Yeah,
I want
or guidance.
So I want to believe it's a move by CARICOM.
So, Ralph, you take the lead on this.
Yeah.
I know Dr. Ruda Molina had been calling. He commended Dr. Gonzalez, Prime Minister Gonzalez, for this, for initiating this. But Richard, I agree with you. But, you know, and you said Dr. Rowley should have taken the lead. I don't think it would have been as appropriate for Dr. Rowley to take the lead as Dr. Gonzalez, because we have specific interests in both countries, much more so than St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I don't think Dr. Rowley playing that moderator role would have been as, I don't know what the word is, but, you know, as appropriate as Dr. Gonzalez.
Appropriate is the proper word. And I thought that was very obvious that Dr. Rowley couldn't take that position. That's how I thought about it.
Well, obvious to us don't mean obvious to everybody, you know that.
Politics kicks in all the time,
Because they would have said trying to maneuver their way into getting this and that and the other, because we're already in a dragon deal discussion with Venezuela and Guyana, and we're doing this and that. You understand? It would have been quite difficult for Dr. Rowley to be inserted in that, given our interest and in both countries and our geographical position also. So, you know, also changing gears for a bit on that. It's always interesting as a media person, I observe. Did you all notice, and maybe I missed it, any extensive or limited or at all media coverage of the interview with Overshi Rupnarayan Tiwari and Mrs. Prasad Bissessa?
I saw nothing. No, I saw some of it. Some of it was made news. Yeah, a little bit, but not as what you
to make news in OCM.
Take out OCM.
It was on
I can't
TV.
remember where exactly I saw it, but
even OCM did not cover it extensively after.
Yeah, I watched news the same night, because I was in the morning. I watched news in the night, and there were excerpts from it.
It would be TV6 would not have an interview on Morning Edition with Mrs. Prasad Bissessa, the first major interview I would say in the last 8 years, and not carry news summary. So OCM is a given.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised, or not surprised, that there was not wider coverage of it. And you know why? What did you learn new?
All I saw coming out of it, the only clip I saw coming out of it was the clip about empty the clip, where she doubled down on me on that. That's the only thing I saw coming out of it.
So when you have an interview after 8 years, you want some new insight. You understand? You want some information that you didn't have before. There was no new information.
She looked pretty though.
Who?
Mrs. Prasad Bissessa.
Always does to me, but most of the time.
Not always, but she looks pretty.
She's an attractive woman. She you know, she's a good-looking woman.
Yeah.
But I thought the interview was so light.
But I didn't actually watch the entire interview. All I saw was that little clip. I've seen or heard nothing else about it.
Well, I watched it.
You're right. Other media didn't.
I learned nothing new, and it was so devoid of any information that nobody else covered anything from it.
That's what I'm saying.
Which to me should have been a major interview. You understand?
Yeah.
But it was so.
They be getting more of Dr. Munilal now than Mrs. Prasad Bissessa. True.
Maybe she should stick to Google.
Rodney Charles get more coverage when he stepped down than that interview.
And they indicated he's stepping down. He stepped down yet, Randall. Don't rejoice yet.
When he announced he's stepping down,
When
he
he announced
get
he's
more
stepping
coverage.
down. Don't rejoice yet.
He get more coverage.
Politicians say that, but don't necessarily follow through on it.
Thank you.
Nah, he gone.
Nah, he gone. He crossed the line.
He gone.
He crossed the line.
He gone.
The interview he do on whatever TV station it is, but you know that was the internet, so he did the honorable thing.
Yeah.
Because he's right. I mean, come on, you know. Good morning to the TTPS and the Triangle Regiment. More ammunition bearing TTR and TTPS insignia appears on a crime scene. This time, True Value car park in Diego Martin, where 36-year-old Jabari Williams was shot on Tuesday.
She did mention that part of it, as you brought that up, that there should be an audit of the what would you call that? The armory stocks.
Who Mrs. Christopher say you're talking about?
Yeah.
Who brought up that? Mrs. Christopher? Earl Christopher?
No, I think the opposition leader has asked that, or has suggested that there should be an audit of the, I'm calling it the armory stock of both the TTPS and TTDF.
They both appeared before the Joint Select Committee on National Security months ago and was thoroughly investigated by Dr. Munal and Senator Lachmidia on the same issue. So much so that they said they was collaborating. That's why I asked what new information came out of the interview. All that was traversed months ago.
I'm not sure if this came out of the interview or she said, but anyway, I saw that as part of the ticker tape last night. So I can't say if it's out of the interview specifically.
The Army said in that JSC that they have all the ammunition accounted for and lost a gun weeks after. A gun and ammunition. And of course, that story went into Never Never Land, never to be heard about again.
And they found the gun?
They found the gun, but you don't know what came out of it.
Right.
You understand? But you know the Army is a closed circuit.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I see the House of Representatives order paper for December 13th has 3 persons as submitted by the Police Service Commission for the position of Deputy Commissioners of Police.
Yeah, that made interesting.
Superintendents Wendell Lucas, Junior Benjamin, and Natasha George. They are shortlisted.
They all superintendents? Are they all current superintendents of police?
So. It seems so.
I think Wendell Lucas might be a little more senior than a superintendent.
Well, he may be, you know. He may have acted as a DCP at some time.
Yeah, he's the only name I'm familiar with, though. I don't know the other 2 people at all. Never heard of them.
Right. So I thought when I saw the order paper sent, not to me officially, unofficially, I found it a curious development. But remember, there are 3 who have like 20 days left before they sent on to Never Never Land vacation. You understand?
21.
So the police is certainly, the police service, I should say, is certainly rearranging its deck of cards to make allowances for those persons who, when they go off to Never Never Land vacation, one, thank God. Not that shut him up any after that. I'm sure he'll be making all kind of stupid comments continuing. Yes, the person who jumped in last week, jump in again. It means that there will be senior positions to be filled, you know, in terms of active duty. Not that they're going on extended vacation, but by the time they trade them, how much ever them come back, they're null and void, you know.
Yeah.
You understand? They are basically out of the system so that they have to make the necessary structural adjustments in the police service. So,
but Natasha George and Junior Benjamin are not known to me. I've never heard those names before. I understand Natasha George, though, is very well qualified as an attorney and so on, and she may actually get another female commissioner of police based on the information somebody else was giving me, right? But I don't know of Junior Benjamin. Wendell Lucas is known in the police service. I think she's the head of one of those special units now. A very well-known, dedicated senior police officer, as far as I've heard.
Generally, when let me see if I can say this diplomatically.
I don't know any of them, so
when one is getting ready to look at potential for a new commissioner of police, there's a rearranging of the order. Not so?
Yes.
Because it's very difficult for you to pole jump from not being an acting or substantive DCP to commissioner of police potential. Not so, Wendell?
Yes.
Right. So that's what I'm going to say.
But I thought all you had to be was a serving member of the TTPS.
Yeah, but it's unlikely they're going to take you on
right?
if you act in a senior position. Could your track record, your resume, your experience, and your qualifications all come into play. So you could be somebody who come in the police service yesterday officially and be eligible for thing, unless you unless apparently you're Gideon Dixon, which is another whole matter.
Wendell Lucas is actually the assistant commissioner in charge of white collar crime. He's a financial crimes investigator. So he's somebody known.
I think those things don't come about.
Financial Intelligence Bureau, I think.
I think there's a clear, to me, rearranging in the near future of the police service hierarchy. Clear. What I didn't understand is they're debating the three names. Does it mean that they're trying to fill three positions, or because names sent to Parliament don't mean all the names get through?
Right. So those names have been sent forward
for debate.
Well, and I think based on the configuration of Parliament, it may be a fait accompli.
The configuration of Parliament before, it was no fait accompli.
This was sent forward by who? The Police Service Commission?
Yeah. Once it's DCP's Police Service Commission. Yeah. So, but I think all three names will be approved, given yes the configuration. But in the past, they've decided I don't like you and I don't like you for whatever reason. Or I don't want you. I'm in a sense like I don't want you for whatever reason. You understand? Which is what I thought they should have done. Anyway, I'm not go down that road.
Junior Benjamin, according to Google, Junior Benjamin is the senior superintendent in charge of Tobago.
Okay.
So I got two for you. Let me do Natasha George now. Natasha George is
beauty culture. The media didn't interview Mrs. Pisabi, so over she did. So when you said she didn't ask, the media didn't ask any relevant questions, that's over she. Direct that to over she.
Yeah. I could say good morning to some of our listeners, like Richard M. Jeremiah, Wendy Ann James, Rena Jennings, Ray. Good morning, Ray. Amo Gaines, Kim is Colonel Joseph, Jossie Orlando Richardson, Casey Boney. I'm just saying good morning, recognizing you there. Giselle Shepard, Ronald Sardine, Giselle Shepard again, Randy Kelly, D.S. Lips, Beauty Culture, Carlisle Cupid, Doreen Peer, D.S. Lip Celeste. Let me give you the proper name. And Roland.
You know that's Mrs. R, right?
Of course I do. Wendell. Roland Bahadur. Good morning to all of you.
He's already familiar with D.S. Lips.
Those of you entered earlier.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is for a third time the subject of an investigation by the Integrity Commission. Dr. Rowley has fired back and is now accusing the Integrity Commission of deliberately attempting to tarnish his reputation and being in concert with others, trying to find ways to associate him with contracts and awards over which he has absolutely nothing to do with.
What's the investigation on this time?
Alan Warner Group of Companies and Alan Warner and the award of contracts in Tobago.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me do birthday greetings while you wait.
We done that already. No comment on that.
I'm doing birthday.
No comment on the IC investigation.
No, we could get back to that. We could actually do it as our poll this morning. We could ask if you agree with Dr. Rowley that he is being what was his word?
I was going to say the Integrity Commission is not want to open investigations without prompting, but they can.
They can.
But
Dr. Rowley had a description as to why he thinks they're coming out.
He said they're in concert with others. You're right.
Right. So we could ask that as our poll this morning. But birthday greetings, Kerry Franklin, young police officer. Happy birthday, Kerry. Suzanne Phillip, Penelope Beckles' birthday is today.
Okay, happy birthday.
Minister Penelope Beckles Robinson.
Happy
Raymond
birthday.
Huggins.
Happy birthday.
Pernell Walkins. Sherwin Beggs. Ronald Ramey's birthday is today, Richard, not so?
Yeah.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ronald.
Yeah, happy
Maria
birthday.
Christopher and Nafisa Mohammed is also celebrating her birthday today. And Curtis Dookie, who passed away last week, actually, in New York, his birthday would have been today. And also Herdis Polonais. Herdis Polonais, I think he's at one of those TV stations.
But this is a director at TTT Limited.
He's a director at TTT?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine. Yesterday, he's celebrating his birthday. Happy birthday,
Herdis.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Rowley should vigorously defend his name, and you can make public statements that I will defend my name. I've done nothing wrong, and my integrity will stand up to scrutiny in the end. Simple statements like that.
Well,
but when you start to scour the integrity of the Integrity Commission, which is another institution that is there remit to investigate whoever at the hands of power, you don't do the institutional veneer of that, the substance of that institution any favors.
Yeah, and that's because of the relationship.
And I just think as the Prime Minister, you should understand that these institutional arrangements exist, and you can strongly defend yourself without criticizing and becoming nasty about the members of the institution.
And that's because of their past history, you know. So
it doesn't matter.
I'm hearing you.
But I'm just saying, if we don't change the discourse of the country in a particular way, in how we look at institutions, then what's the point? So that when people say the president do this and the president that, then don't object.
Yeah.
Because you're setting the tone. But I'm saying strongly defend yourself. Absolutely, that's your right. And strongly defend yourself and say, you know, all of my actions will stand up to scrutiny, and I have no fear of any investigation. And I know that this will turn out to be spurious in the end. You can say things like that. But be aware of the institutional corners that exist. Because it just sets the tone for a lot of degrading of institutions across the country that continues rampantly, and it doesn't do the country any favor. That's just my take on it.
I'm not
the person who would have taken a document to Ken Gordon when he was Integrity Commission chairman at some point and ended up in controversy. Is that what happened?
There was a lot of controversy. They met. They met apparently.
They met, right.
Yeah.
They met. And there were questions about that too.
Yes.
And the propriety of that. Now, on the other hand, Richard, I could understand from Dr. Rowley's perspective, because the first two investigations proved to be to exonerate Dr. Rowley, right? And I could imagine...
I will say that I will be exonerated once again.
Right. But I could imagine any leader who is the target of a third investigation, because of statements made by people who may not be able to substantiate it, becoming testy at a point.
The whole Integrity Commission had to resign because of that episode with Dr. Rowley last time.
You understand?
All of them had to resign.
can become testy without degrading institutions.
I agree with that, but I understand after a while, if anything that is said in the
not the
public
same
domain,
people. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not the same people.
No, it's not.
No, it's
but in the realm of politics, people say all sorts of things.
Yes, and I'm saying that needs to change.
Yeah,
because it's setting an unfortunate tone for the general society. So when people start to make comments on social media
about all
the
institutions,
grading of institutions, whether it be the presidency or the judiciary or whoever, then don't complain.
Richard,
because the tone is being set.
I contributed to a debate on the protection of institutions and said basically the same thing, you know. That don't cherry pick which institutions you protect or not.
Yeah.
You understand? So I understand it, but I can
be upset. You can be upset.
Defend your name, but don't damage the institution.
Yeah, just that.
Yeah. That I agree with that. Because at the end of the day,
if I was the prime minister, I'd be upset too. But this is the third time and twice I've been exonerated. I'll say, oh, here we go on that gravy train again. And but maybe gravy train is the wrong analogy.
Yeah, I think so. You need to retract that.
Integrity investigation.
Maybe that's the wrong track. Anyway, so the potential question is: do you agree with Dr. Roddy's suggestion that the Integrity Commission is working in concert with others to tarnish his name? Is that the question?
Yeah, we could do that.
Right. Anyone has papers?
No, I don't. But I don't this morning. But I suppose we could divvy up the digital if you want.
Please, while I type.
Yeah, so Wendell, you could take Express. I'll take Newsday.
All right.
And then you could do Guardian. Then you could do Guardian while I'm doing Newsday.
And I'm not sure if this is the latest Express I have here, but missing man's vehicles found. That's in the Express headlines online. Romani records Barbados hat trick. Don't feel daunted. That's the word of political leader of the PNM, Dr. Rowley, as he speaks to supporters in Tobago. A pain-free holiday season put aside US $3 million for Muslims annually. Balladeer Kelvin Hutchin, there's a feature on him. And also Claire Jones's mysterious disappearance, that's also trending in today's Express. And I can also give you an update in sports that West Indies won their first one-day international series against England in 25 years in Barbados over the weekend. All right?
That could be an interesting poll, though, the issue of the state making sure that there's provision of foreign exchange for Muslims to do Hajj in Saudi Arabia. Should there be particular attention paid to one religion to accommodate that?
Well, then they'd have to provide for anybody who wants to go to Medjugorje or any of the other religious observances in the country.
Or for Thanksgiving, for Christmas?
Or for Christmas, but I don't know yet when these particular places celebrate Christmas, but the Hajj is specific to Muslims.
Yes, but the Hajj is
but people wanting to go to Jerusalem, look at the birthplace of Jesus Christ, etc.
No. Your question goes to foreign exchange, providing foreign exchange for religious exchange. That's what your question goes to. So anytime you go down that road, then all other religions or all other people who go in for any religious purpose, even if it's Christmas, will want it to. Leave that question.
Anyway, that's not our poll this morning.
Leave that question right where it is.
That's not our question.
I'm done with the Express.
Okay, let me do the Newsday. The Newsday this morning: attorneys pay tribute to fallen Guyanese soldier. Toko man to pay in court on gun charges. UNC government has failed on crime. Munilal slammed Skinner Park money wastage. And government eyes December 19th for Christmas back pay. Canoopia body that of missing cop. And Munilal challenges PM stance on the Guyana-Venezuela conflict. St. Clair residents object to event venue.
I suppose that's Salmon Tree. Salmon Tree? Is that what is the name of it?
What's that?
The event venue in St. Clair. I think it's called Salmon Tree. I have several events there. Anyway, apparently St. Clair residents have objected and have filed an injunction.
Where were the events to be held at Mandela Park?
No, not Mandela Park, Salmon Tree. It's a private venue in St. Clair.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that.
God,
Paul,
you and
Paul,
Paul are
just
not.
quick,
You
just
and
quickly,
Paul, do you know
Paul.
about it? Paul, do you know about it? Salmon Tree?
I know the place, yes.
Okay, you got away. I was going to say only younger people probably know. So Wendell, you understand.
Okay. Paul, Mike Black gave us the word to use in the poll. Witch hunt. Do you agree with Dr. Rowley that it's the Integrity Commission is on a witch hunt against him? You could shorten your poll.
He used the word witch hunt?
I think so.
I didn't see that reported in news.
Okay. Well, we could use it.
You mean give up more?
We cannot use it if I didn't see it.
Yeah, quote exactly as it says.
Exactly.
Ali, I will be there for appropriate dialogue. Hundreds march against crime, and of course, with regard to sports minister to meet hockey board after president charged with sex assault.
Why?
Windy skipper make the Caribbean a fortress.
Why the sports minister to meet with the hockey board?
And Blue Waters hit by cyber attack. So that's it for the news day today. Are you ready for the Guardian, Wendell?
Yes, you can go ahead.
No, I thought you were looking for the Guardian.
I have it. The Guardian for today. Let's roll on. We're running out of time. For the Spain started against Sweden Memorial to former MP. Injunction stops spread at St. Clair venue. Police Association optimistic new DCPs will boost the fight against crime. PM Rowley under Integrity Commission probe for a third time. CAA unaware of THA plans for a new airline. Man robbed going to sell PS5 in downtown Port of Spain. Gonzalez not mediating Essequibo discussions. Prasad Bisasa welcomes Guyana-Venezuela talks. And Beckles and Kumar Singh tout TNT's climate change push. So those are trending stories in your three dailies, your Guardian, your Express, and your Newsday. Online for today, Monday, the 11th of December, 2023.
Of course, today is not the birthday of Penelope Beckles.
Oh?
Birthday is September 12th.
Well, somebody made a boo-boo on
She's
Facebook.
still in Dubai. She just messaged me and I just responded.
All right.
She said she got a lot of messages after Wendell said her birthday was today.
It come up on Facebook?
Yeah, well, there's the source. It's September 12th. All right, let's say good morning. Good out to Mo Gaines, Carol Joseph, Josie Orlando Richardson, Kizzy Boney, Giselle Shepard, Ronald Sardine, Giselle Shepard, Rhonda Kelly, Rena Boodoo Jennings, Beauty Culture, Kyla Cupid, Mrs. R is locked on, Doreen Pierre, Roland Balfour, CJ New York, good morning to you, Sankofa, Jaron Joseph, Dan Raj, good morning to you all as well on WhatsApp. All right, let's get the results of our morning poll from Friday. Of course, on Friday, we asked you, do you agree with Rodney Charles that older politicians should bow out to make way for new blood? That was our poll on Friday. The results are in. 82%, 82 said yes. All right, let's get into this morning's poll. Do you agree with Prime Minister Dr. Rowley that the Integrity Commission is working in concert with others to tarnish his name? That's our poll, 222-8255, toll free. North Americans, 866-525-1099, on WhatsApp at 318-1021, and of course on YouTube and on Facebook. All right? John says, no, I don't agree.
Richard, you writing?
Yeah.
DJ Ray out in Tampa. DJ Ray, I got your package and your Christmas card to the guys. So thank you so much, DJ Ray. I'll pass it on to them.
Let me tell you something, Trini's really coming for Christmas.
All the flights I said that last week, all the flights
JFK,
and leaving.
Gate was a zoo. If you people understand, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get a seat assignment until the last minute. I said, well, you
Wow.
may be on standby. I said, I no standby. You need to get me home now because I'm not going through that.
You like
Wow.
this big maxi taxi in this guy, eh?
And what would you
American
prefer me to take? An overpriced competitor that bring me the same place? For a plate of food?
American Airlines on Saturday
Huh?
had a 6-hour delay.
An overpriced competitor who bring me the same place, who not going to be on time for a plate of food?
Let's
I'll
wrap
buy a
this.
sandwich and eat it on the flight. It was just 4.5 hours. I don't need to eat.
Yeah. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, big guy.
Hi. I would say no, because this is a different integrity commission, and I believe they only report what is brought to them. So they cannot be going after him. It's a different group make up this integrity commission. So my answer is no.
All right, big guy. Thank you.
Richard, I have not been right, you know.
Boy Bedesi says yes. Slick Money Grip says yes. Ish Out in Malik says no. Wayne B says yes. CPT Singh says yes. Finbar Collins says, oh yes. Jaron Joseph says no, I don't agree. Dunrad says no on WhatsApp.
You know, trying to do, you could sell itself as a place of healing. Because the number of people I see sit on wheelchairs at the departure gate in JFK who is get up and walk in Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as your Lanius heal.
Yeah.
Huh?
I have brought up that so many times.
That's a peeve of me when I travel.
Listen, look, you walking good. Look at you.
Yeah. It's so true.
As they land, let the walking brisk and run into immigration. I said, but you wasn't a wheelchair in JFK, wasn't you? Okay.
But did it
That's
sit down?
Well says no. Roland Man 4 says yes. DJ Ray says no. DL says no to the poll. Do you agree with PM Dr. Keith Rowley that the Integrity Commission is working in concert with others to tarnish his name?
There are two things about flying I'll never understand. One, why are you rushing to go on the plane? Your group ain't called yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your seat ain't going nowhere.
Yes.
And two,
rushing to come off.
You round of applause when the plane land.
No, I could understand that one. You know, as a third one I don't understand. People put in their luggage where they're not sitting down.
No, sometimes there's no room where you're sitting.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about you now entering the plane, but you're looking for space and you say, no, we don't in the back.
Yeah, overhead compartments is usually an issue.
I see that all the time now.
Yeah, I've done that because they had
was sitting next to me the other day, and he couldn't put his luggage. You know why? Because the man in 28, we weren't sitting in 8. The man in 28.
You don't want to pick it up the aisle when the plane land. You want to pick it up when he coming down the aisle.
That's ridiculous. They need to stop that. Put your luggage where you're sitting now.
All right. Cascade St. Anne's says no. Alistair Hart says yes to the poll.
When you see that, you one of them people who's put luggage over here and go down in the back and sit down.
I go on with whatever I can put in front of me. But there's a dragon in the long run.
Was it unfair to people who are sitting in 8 and the luggage all the way down in the back because that's where they have room? So they have to wait now to go down in the back of the plane to get the luggage. That's unfair. And I've seen that.
You know, it's a little trick if you walk with hand luggage, like a four-wheeler hand luggage. And of course, with these airlines, apart from Caribbean, where you have to pay for your luggage and you go with a hand luggage on wheels, usually at the counter before you board the plane and say, anybody want to put their luggage down below? No cost.
Yeah, they do that. They do that.
No charge. So you get it and go below.
Yeah. Just remember to take out your laptop or your valuables. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. They do that a lot now, I find. Take people luggage at the counter.
Yeah, you don't pay for it.
Yeah.
Rena Boodoo Jennings says yes to our poll. We have 4 minutes to vote.
Morning, Zena. Honey, I'm home.
It's Rena Jennings. Vote you just gave there, right, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're taking your votes. 222 talk 222-8255. North Americans 866-525-1099, and that's absolutely toll free. People who want to WhatsApp, you can WhatsApp us at 868-318-1021. And of course, you can also send your votes via the comment section on the YouTube stream, Facebook, or LinkedIn.
Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy.
Yeah. Oh, an expert peeve. Luggage. An expert peeve. The American Airlines continuously tell people put the luggage on the side with the wheels facing in. Turn it on the side. They're still putting it flat.
In your palace, warm and mighty king.
Do you agree with the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, that the Integrity Commission is working in concert with others to tarnish his name? Yes or no? That's our poll until tomorrow morning.
Wait, what somebody just voted by WhatsApp there, or we know
higher on the field, it will bring us. Yes, sorry.
Is Rena Jennings the last, Steve, or you're giving some other vote?
Rena Jennings was last.
Okay.
Kenny, I say yes to the poll. Thank you, Kenny.
As big as the sea. Lips, cool yourself, eh?
Ah, I wish you luck.
Cool yourself. Cool yourself. Take it down.
Yeah. Val says, good morning, team. No, via WhatsApp. Thank you.
I wonder if Lips does do anything else in the morning but type accolades to Richard. This is put aside that time.
Leave Mrs. Zara alone, please. Leave her alone.
Michael out in London says yes. Ms. Maloney. Good morning to you, Ms. Maloney. Yes. Ian Robley. Yes.
Said the king.
Mrs. R says yes.
Everywhere.
Got all of those, yeah. Got all of those.
Listen to what I say.
Miss Maloney.
I'm like a little snow to put you in a Christmas mood.
You got snow, right?
I got something like it.
A flurry.
The beginning of it.
Good Finbar say.
You should be happy for a little rain, Finbar Collins, okay? You should be happy for a little rain. Try your best.
No, we had enough rain. I'm good.
Oh,
pray for peace and people everywhere.
Oh, jeez. Richard,
we're going to dedicate a day next week to sing, to sing carols, right?
We're going to competition again?
Yeah.
Of course.
You're free to lose again?
Yes. Next week is Christmas week.
Next week is Christmas week already? No.
It's 14 days, 2 weeks from today, though, bro.
It's true.
Yeah.
A blink and it's Christmas.
Next week, oh yes. Didn't realize that's true.
Next week is Christmas week. Next week is when Zena and Mrs. R will bring ham and grog and this and that.
Richard, we have to plan a day next week to go into the studio, okay?
Yeah.
You all can come every day next week.
Oh, God, not every day.
Including Paul.
No.
Wayne Joseph, yes, from Ontario, Canada. Good morning to all those in Washington, D.C. You all are getting some snow. Just the season.
I think I know what happened, why Penelope Beckel's name showed up, you know. It's actually her assistant, Shane John's birthday. So I think he created a profile also because the person, I just looked at it, it says 22 years old. I think that's about his age.
Yeah.
And so it's actually his birthday today. Shane John's birthday. But like he created a profile under Penelope Beckel's name also too.
Pray for peace. Coming up after 7, we have who, Steve?
I'm Gavin Hira. And I have Mr. Conrad Enel on standby for Tuesday to Guyana.
Is he the envoy in Guyana? He's the envoy out in Guyana, not so?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm also trying to get Dr. Ali on the program.
From Ali?
Yeah.
Go on a track, Pancio again.
Nah, forget my real good friend is from Guyana. His father is very well connected. So I spoke to Uncle on the weekend. All right, let's get into our 7 o'clock major news. The ever so lovely Avies and Hillbab is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is for a third time the subject of an investigation by the Integrity Commission. Funeral arrangements for former PNM MP Marlene McDonald are still being finalized. Venezuela and Guyana to hold diplomatic talks on Thursday, and opposition UNC commenced in Vincent and the Grenadines for facilitating Presidents Maduro and Ali in discussions this week. Details in a moment. This is news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. Good morning. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is for a third time the subject of an investigation by the Integrity Commission. Dr. Rowley has accused the Integrity Commission of deliberately attempting to tarnish his reputation. Dr. Rowley is being investigated by the ICC for allegedly breaching the Integrity in Public Life Act, and the second time since becoming Prime Minister, this time in connection with allegations that contracts awarded to a company owned by his friend Alan Warner were not above board. The Prime Minister did not hold back and said that the Integrity Commission, acting in concert with others, is deliberately attempting to tarnish his reputation by attempting to find ways to associate him with contracts and awards that he has absolutely nothing to do with. In a letter dated November 23rd, the ICC confirmed the decision to begin an independent probe. The letter was captioned "Commencement of Investigation into Potential Breaches of the Integrity in Public Life Act, Chapter 2201, arising from the award of contracts to Mr. Alan Warner and or companies with which he is affiliated or associated and has an interest therein." The ICC informed Dr. Rowley that its investigators would contact him and asked that he cooperate with the investigation, which it hopes to conclude in a timely manner. Funeral arrangements for former PNM MP Marlene McDonald are still being finalized, but members of the constituency she once represented, Port of Spain South, begins 3 days of activities in her memory from today. A condolence book will be open for signing at the MP's office in Port of Spain from today and tomorrow. There will be a lighting up of one dedicated street from each electoral district in Port of Spain South as a show of unity and recognition of McDonald's work in the constituency. On Wednesday, there will be a memorial service at the Port of Spain City Hall from 7 p.m. McDonald, who died last Friday after ailing for some time, is survived by 2 brothers and a sister and 2 nieces who live abroad but are currently in TNT to make the funeral arrangements. McDonald served as an MP and government minister from 2007 to 2019 in the administrations of Patrick Manning and Dr. Keith Rowley. Media reports from St. Vincent say on Thursday at 10 a.m., a meeting is scheduled between the presidents of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, to discuss the ongoing border conflict in St. Vincent. It said the community of Latin America and Caribbean states, St. Vincent Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, the head of state of CARICOM, and Brazilian President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva will preside over the discussions. Dr. Gonzalez is reported as saying both leaders have agreed with him for such a meeting to be held under the auspices of CELAC, of which St. Vincent and the Grenadines is pro-tempore president, and CARICOM, of which the current chairman is the Commonwealth of Dominica. Gonzalez stated both leaders have also requested the distinguished presence of President of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. Well, President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, yesterday reiterated that Guyana's position on the border controversy with Venezuela remains non-negotiable, highlighting that the merit of the case will be determined by the International Court of Justice. The head of state made the disclosure in a live broadcast on his Facebook page, in which he noted that Thursday's meeting with his Venezuelan counterpart, President Nicolas Maduro, is just a conversation in the interest of keeping the region a zone of peace.
Today, I wanted to outline clearly the steps that preceded my decision to agree to a conversation, a meeting with President Maduro of Venezuela. As you're aware, from the inception, we made it very clear that on the issue of our border, controversy in relation to our border, there is absolutely no compromise. This matter is before the ICJ, and that is where it shall be settled. There is no negotiations on this. There is no compromise on it.
He thanked all of Guyana's allies for what he termed their principled stance in supporting international law.
As you're aware, the ICJ has already issued orders that call upon Venezuela to ensure that status quo remains. Secondly, as it relates to our allies and our partners, we are tremendously proud of the level of partnership, the expanded partnership, the strength of our partnership, and we are going to continue to strengthen this partnership. For a matter of fact, there are a number of activities that are planned, there are a number of activities that are scheduled. And these activities, these training programs, these exchanging programs will continue as planned. I want to thank all our allies. I want to thank all our friends.
Meanwhile, opposition member of parliament, Dr. Rudal Munilal, said St. Vincent must be commended for what he described as its display of maturity in facilitating both leaders in a bid to resolve differences. He reiterated the point made by the UNC political leader that this country should have mediated in the conflict between Guyana and Venezuela. However, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley explained why this move could not be pursued at a news briefing on Friday, adding that Guyana did not request it but had decided to rely on the International Court of Justice, while Venezuela does not recognize the ICJ. Speaking at a news briefing on Sunday at the UNC headquarters in Chaguanas, Dr. Munilal took note of the stance adopted by St. Vincent.
We have confirmed, even before the newspaper, we confirmed yesterday from high government sources that indeed on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, President Ali has confirmed to attend, President Maduro has confirmed to attend, and we are almost certain, but the president of Brazil, the very distinguished veteran Lula, is also scheduled to travel to St. Vincent to have discussions.
Dr. Munilal reiterated a suggestion made by a former police commissioner that this country's security systems get into a state of readiness in light of recent developments.
In closing, I want to repeat the call made, I think, yesterday by former Commissioner Gary Griffith, that Trinidad and Tobago must get into the state of readiness as what is called an alert state, that we trigger defense force, we trigger our law enforcement community, whether it's maritime assets, and on the maritime assets up to now, we don't know what percentage of our maritime assets are non-functional. There are boats and so on procured by the People's Partnership, which are non-functional.
A full investigation has been launched by the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority and the Guyana Police Force into the crash of the Bell 412 helicopter, which occurred last Wednesday near the border between Guyana and Venezuela. This was confirmed yesterday by Brigadier Omar Khan, Chief of Staff of Guyana. 5 of the 7 occupants of the Guyana Defense Force Bell 412 helicopter, which disappeared on Wednesday between Arau and Ikereku in Region 7, died after the aircraft crashed into the jungle, according to the Army. Those confirmed dead are the pilot in command, veteran aviator Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, Colonel Michael Shahood, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Welcome, Staff Sergeant Jason Khan, and retired Brigadier Gary Beaton. Lieutenant Andio Michael Crawford, a pilot on board the aircraft, and Corporal Dwayne Johnson survived the crash. The Guyana Defense Force said the black box recording device in the military helicopter, which has been found, will also assist them in determining the exact reason for the crash, which resulted in the deaths of 5 GDF soldiers. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. 3 vacancies for deputy commissioners of police will be debated when the HOR sits on December 13th. The order paper contains the submissions of police commissioners with the 3 senior police officers for Parliament to fill 3 vacancies for deputy commissioners of police. The shortlisted candidates are expected to be debated in Parliament on December 13th. According to the order paper, senior superintendents Wendell Lucas, Junior Benjamin, and Natasha George were shortlisted as the top 3 candidates by the Commission. Previously, ACPs Ramnarain Samaru and Kurt Simon had been approved to act as deputy commissioners. Lucas has been serving as the head of the White Collar Crimes Division. George is acting senior superintendent at the St. James Barracks and the Child Protection Unit, and Benjamin was the acting senior superintendent of the Tobago Division. Well, finally, here's weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, sunny conditions will be occasionally interrupted by partly cloudy spells with few light to moderate showers. There's a low chance of the isolated heavy shower favoring western and hilly areas of Trinidad, mostly fair night despite the odd shower. Winds may become gusty in or near heavy showers. You can expect a temperature high of 31 degrees Celsius, both at Piarco International Airport and Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, the temperature is 26 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is for the 3rd time the subject of an investigation by the Integrity Commission. Funeral arrangements for former PNM MP Marlene McDonald are still being finalized. Venezuela and Guyana to hold diplomatic talks on Thursday, mediated by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the opposition UNC commends St. Vincent for facilitating Presidents Maduro and Ali in discussions this week. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. That was news at 7 o'clock on Power 102. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon today and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All right. Thank you so much, Avi, for our major news. Of course, coming up at 8 o'clock, 46 minutes from now, we'll have a news brief. Let's take a look at what's happening traffic-wise, starting out in San Fernando. Just as you exit the Solo, get onto Ruber Link Road, you got some traffic going through Caxton Bay. You also got some traffic, but nothing to tell you about in the Solo. Nothing really on Rivulet Road. Nothing on the Solo headed north. Nothing. Let's take a look at the Church of Roosevelt Highway. Trinity City to Orange Grove. Not bad at all, but from McCoy to Huey, it gets a little heavier. And you've got traffic pretty much from before swim call heading into Port of Spain. Nothing out of the west. Nothing out of Diego Martin. Gotta love when school is out. Gotta love it. All right. All right, so let's get back in. We got some more votes here. Scorpion Pepper says no to the poll. Carol Guevara says yes. And good morning to Anthony Tinto out in Canada. Where in Canada again? Where is he?
He's Brampton.
Brampton.
So it's just an initial no and yes you're adding, right?
Yeah, one each.
Brampton or Brantford? I can't remember which one.
Brampton. Yeah.
All right, so our poll this morning, do you agree with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley that the Integrity Commission is working in concert with others to tarnish his name? We had 27 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 27, 15 of you said yes, 12 of you said no. It was pretty close a lot of the time, but the yeses went ahead by 3. Is that? Yeah. So 15 of you said yes, You do agree with him, but 12 of you said no. So it's one of our closer polls on issues like that.
All right.
Of course, you can continue to vote on the poll throughout the day, through our programming, and we'll give you the final results tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday.
All right. So let's say going out to Gavin Hira joining us on the show this morning. Good morning, Gavin. How are you?
Hi, morning team, and pleasant good morning to Trinidad and Tobago and all of our viewers who are streaming online. Good morning.
All right, thank you.
Commander
Thanks for
Hira.
joining us.
Good morning. Caesar's greetings, Commander Hila.
Dr. Richards, good morning to you and the family.
So let's jump in right with the news report from yesterday, which indicated that at a crime scene at True Value Car Park in Diego Martin, more ammunition bearing the insignias TTR and TTPS have been found among other shells, spent shells. And what this means for the law enforcement arms in Trinidad and Tobago, it's not the first time in the last couple of months that we've seen this. Both entities appeared before GSC National Security months ago and were grilled on it. The TT Defense Force indicating their auditing systems are in place and they can account for all of the ammunition. I don't know how, when they lose a gun the other day, although they found it back. And where the TTPS is a whole different discussion. From your perspective, how serious is this?
It's very serious and very concerning. Actually, I would have given my opinions to that to another platform. And I think it's something that, although that there was that audit that was done that sort of secured the integrity of the whole accountability issue with the Defense Force, and there were statements for the fact that we have ammunition still showing up on crime scenes means somewhere along the line there has to be some sort of hemorrhaging. And therefore, it's very, very important now for the Defense Force to revisit its intelligence gathering strategies, revisit its operations. And I strongly advised to that other platform, to which I'll do now, that they have to also look at new methods of intelligence gathering and covert operations so as to determine what is the link, what is the breaking point, what seems to be the gap that is allowing ammunition, assets, of the Defense Force ending up in the hands of criminals and on crime scenes and killing civilians. That is very serious, which means there has to be a criminal link in the Defense Force, in the TTR, that is allowing this. And that is not something just to sweep under the carpet or to run, clipboard audits on. This is something that needs a concentrated effort. This is something that needs a sort of will from the desk of the Chief of Defense Staff, directing this with firm standing to an investigative officer, maybe a collaborative effort involving all of the agencies to bring this to closure. Because just as you alluded to, it's not only the Defense Force, it could be the TTPS. Who knows, maybe we may just end up seeing wrongs from the prisons ending up on the crime scene. So if there's a leak from the national security armories, ending up in the hands of criminals, ending up in illegal weapons and shooting and killing civilians, then we have to have a cause for concern. And this is something that warrants, as I said, immediate attention and is not a clipboard audit issue.
Well,
How much do you think from their audit? I'll tell you why I ask you the question. They lost a gun through whatever method. We didn't have full clarity on that some time ago. I think an officer was arrested, may have been gone through the Defense Force justice process. And as soon as that shall remain unnamed, they told me long ago, the practice was to count every round of ammunition on a daily basis. When rounds are given out, rounds come back in, guns go out, guns come back in, and that may have been changed. That's why it's more difficult now to keep track of this ammunition. So when they tell us an audit has been done, it may not be the kind of audit we thought it was.
Yeah, no, you're correct. There are more guns now. There are more rounds of ammunition. Armories have expanded. More operations, more personnel. So yes, I would assume as this capacity of asset and resources increased, then also our capacity and capability of accountability would have also been modified and modernized to treat with the accountability issue. And I don't want to be facetious or anything when I talk about clipboard audit. I meant that, we have to change our approach to ensure that accountability in our armories is a priority effort, and trained personnel vetted, and more importantly, continued oversight via intelligence gathering to ensure that there aren't any leaks or there aren't any criminal elements on the ground that is already recruiting or using Defense Force personnel for their whims and fancy. Organized crime has a far-reaching tentacles, so we cannot dismiss that.
Should I go?
Okay, no, I thought Gavin was frozen,
No, I was finished.
All right.
Yes.
My question, Gavin, is that we're not sure that the guns being used are in fact illegal weapons, where this ammunition is showing up.
It's a good spin. That's a good spin, Wendell, for real. What we are sure is that it's on crime scenes, and therefore we have to be very careful now with our investigations, which has to be meticulous. That were these wrongs expended from legal weapons in the hands of soldiers and officers who are also addressing the crime scene or intercepting a vehicle in a shootout or an exchange of gunfire? Was this really then an official display of protection? So those are where the investigations have to get really, really meticulous and in-depth. Hence the reason I spoke about the intelligence gathering and intrusive investigation approach.
Yeah, because every day, every week, we read about some people dressed in army fatigue or dressed in police uniform involved in some sort of activity that does not seem in line with anything legal. You get those stories every single week.
Yeah, you have black SUVs with blue flashing lights, masking to be police officers, and of course men in full camouflage masking to be members of the Defense Force, committing crimes, house invasions, interceptions, robberies, homicides. So that has to be a concern. I think something that really warrants the attention of our national security experts, and I'm hoping that it is being prioritized.
But you see, Gavin, now the reports are saying masking. You're saying masking. We're not sure. That's the problem. We are not sure that it's anybody masquerading as these people.
Wendell, I understand what you're saying. I'm very aware of the route you're taking, but my laundry is not as perfect as yours, so I may not have the clothes for court.
I have courthouse clothes. Let me ask the question directly. No, but on a serious, we've had concerns about the TGPS trying to bring a police service and the integrity of the officers and the allegations, but not allegations, the corrupt officers that we can't seem to root out as efficient as we want. There was a time in recent history, not too far ago, long ago, when the Defense Force was more sacrosanct. There was more confidence in the integrity of the Defense Force and Defense Force personnel. Is that changing? Should we be concerned?
It has changed. It has changed considerably. And in all fairness to the leadership of the Defense Force and even the men and women, the hardworking men and women, but it has been infiltrated. And one has to understand that you can hold that fence line for so long. The Defense Force of old to the Defense Force of today, the protective services, arms of national security, has been infiltrated. There's no doubt about that. And we have to be doing our remedial work. We have to be doing our correctiveness. And I'm not sure if that is being prioritized, as I said, our recruiting process, our vetting, our background. Even while you are in the job, there has to be checks and balances to ensure that we are maintaining a standard. And I don't think that is happening. It has dropped. It warrants a whole revamping, a whole reviewing on how we do business in the Defense Force, in the protective arms of national security, so that we could, escalate back up that standard to where it once was. We understand that it has expanded. We understand there are new systems. We have something that we never used to see before, and I stand to be corrected, where the Defense Force and the leadership is being challenged in the court of law now for promotions, for victimization and stuff like that. And we have decisions being made in the court of law on behalf of the Defense Force, so against the Defense Force. So, those are some changes that happened in the atmosphere that never used to really happen as it is happening now, as prominent as it's happening now. So there have been significant changes. You're quite correct. And what are we doing? The question that I'm throwing out here, don't have the answer this morning. What are we doing so as to rectify and bring back that brand management, the brand and image of the Defense Force, and by extension, other national security services?
And here,
I know for the Christmas season, they had indicated that they were adding on 100 Defense Force personnel to work alongside the police, and of course, this happens from time to time when the whole issue of crime escalates to the point of view that the state feels they have to act, and they put that in place. Should that be a permanent feature in your opinion, that the Defense Force should, and much more than 100, should be rolled out to work with police stations across the country, or the police service across the country, or you think they should only do so on special occasions?
As the need arises. I think it should not be permanent. I think it should be as the need arises. But when you look, one can easily question or dispute the fact that, well, Mr. Hira, the need has arisen a long time ago. Look at the situation. Look at the homicidal rate. Look at the home invasions. So, there's a situation in country concerning crime and criminality. There's a need now for the Defense Force, as they have always done, to support the law enforcement aspect of it, to support the TTPS. And this 100 plus Defense Force personnel that was supposed to hit the road for the Christmas was in an effort of that. It was going to extend all the way into pre and post Carnival, I think. What I said, however, it should not just be boots on the ground. What I would have liked to see and hoped to see still was probably the establishment or the identification of a gold commander with a specific operational plan, how these men and women are going to be deployed, targeting certain areas, supporting the police in certain areas, and bringing certain issues under control. It's not just men and women patrolling Trinidad and patrolling the streets of our cities. So as a deterrent, it has to go beyond that, because it will just be the recurring effect of just putting men on the ground or boots on the ground. It should be an operational plan led by a gold commander and his command team, instituting certain strategies and tactical strategies as such within certain areas, supporting the TTPS in what I'll call, many operations throughout the geographics of Trinidad and Tobago. So that's how I see it can be. And not to go to permanent, as you're saying, Rich, but more importantly, to complement certain key operations, key areas, and hot zone areas within the country. And that includes maritime borders too, and patrolling the maritime borders because of the issue.
Here was my concern about that. And I'm glad Richard raised that before I was able to raise my question, because one of the latest reports we have had coming out of crime is a contingent of officers going to the home of a businessman to get footage for some fire. Army and police. The home was robbed by these said people. And the businessman went to the police station. I think it was Mearo, I'm not sure the district. I think it was a far-flung area. He went to report the crime, only to see one of the guys who robbed him there sitting at a desk waiting to take this report, dressed in army fatigues, if I'm not mistaken. So it has reached to the stage where it is so bold-faced now that you're not even going to rob people in your uniform, but you're going back to the said station to take reports from people, and that person showed up there. How do you reconcile that in anybody's mind, any citizen's mind today, as to how to treat with anybody showing up on their doorstep now with army fatigues?
It's a sad place to be, especially when you understand the victimology and the psychological effect that this businessman and his family would have suffered, and then to go to make a report and to see the perpetrator behind a desk. Those are questions that we in country are really confused about, really concerned about, and there needs to be some firm action, because that probably is not an isolated case. The main fact that it took place, maybe it's happening on the outside, and we've been told about abuse of power by law enforcement and by the Defense Force. It happens. But what I think would satisfy the citizenry is proper investigative processes after seeing these people being arrested and being brought before the court of law with evidence. But look at the Moruga issue. Look at some of the other issues that would have taken place in country. So we are facing a situation where It's a who to trust. We know that's existing for sure. And maybe where does the banner of gangster or bandit fall? Because now it seems that everybody has a criminal mind or a criminal intent. And if you've been trusted as an agent of the state to uphold law and order, but you're committing a crime in uniform, then that begs the question as whether you're in the right place or not. Or maybe we need to shift gears and you need to be somewhere else. But is our investigation and our probing, our intrusive fact-finding and information gathering, our intelligence strong and robust enough so as to detect and deter these elements? And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Have we done this to ourselves in a lot of ways? Because having been privy to police performance reports for a number of years now, and seeing them touting themselves as successes in terms of leadership, while the solvency rates have not gone above 20%, and we're accepting that, to me, is why where we are. We seem to have gone down the road of accepting a level of mediocrity with police performance in many different areas. And I ask myself why we accept this mediocrity of performance in so many different metrics.
Yeah, no, for real. And we have taken that as a sort of way of life now, to accept that mediocrity. Maybe we can do better. We hope for the new day when the sun will shine in a different place, and it has put the citizenry on the back foot. Hence the reason some people feel this problem is unsolvable. You're seeing a mass migration out of Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of people are leaving this country, a lot. It is a signal that there's a dissatisfaction in the system. And, it falls right. We would have had the conversation about national security strategy, national security policies, issues with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. But it now has to be made a front burner issue, guys. How can we improve? How can we develop the performance aspect? How can we focus on KPIs and be held accountable when we fall below the line, the benchmark? And I think the citizenry, through the Office of Parliament, through various other strategic groups that need to be set up, needs to be given a certain amount of voice, needs to be given a certain amount of oomph, as we like to say, but that authority to be able to question and to challenge performance issues with national security, so that people can be held accountable and understand that they are accountable to certain voices in country, so that their performance can reflect that of excellence and not mediocrity. It has to have an oversight. There has to be.
Do you think the present configuration of the TT Police Service has the expertise needed? And I'll tell you why I asked that question. About 2.5 weeks ago, the police made this big announcement that they arrested and were questioning about 15 alleged gang members in relation to various crimes that were being perpetrated across the country. So they held them, this big announcement, 15 gang members held, front page of all the papers.
Headlines, yeah.
And then 4 to 5 days later, they all released, I think 5 to 7 charged with loitering. So it prompted the question in my mind, on what evidence? Yet you could pick up on an intelligence question, and that is normal and lawful. But on what evidence did you collect when you arrested these men, or before? Because you could collect evidence before that would have made it prosecutable, or is it that it was just a PR stunt? Because people are crying out to hold gang members, and you let them go based on loitering charges.
Yeah.
I mean, is it that the police service doesn't have the requisite expertise and training to collect the kind of forensic evidence? Because Master of the Court, Christian Morris, is it Allen?
Morris Allen. Yeah, Morris Allen.
Came before, but she didn't come before. They had an interface with the GNC National Security. And her contention was too much emphasis was being placed on witness testimony as opposed to forensic evidence that was prosecutable successfully. And so the question is, does the police service have the expertise?
Yeah. And you see, you're hitting on a key point, Dr. Richards, because what happens is that we have to remove that acceleration that is focused only on on apprehension and arrest, and explore the prosecutorial process so that an apprehension and arrest can survive the prosecutorial process in the courts of law, and of course the new batch of defense lawyers that are under the wings of some of these criminals. And I don't know if that was done. That is a major part of the policing. Outside of the investigation, it is having the evidence, having, be it forensic or witness, it can be a combination of, and it should be, that can survive that robust prosecutorial process, can survive the darts and spears of the court process, so that people who are arrested can remain arrested and end up behind bars. But that is not happening. There's an acceleration to arrest for and you said PR, to make the headlines, but to lose these people in 72 plus hours then defeats the purpose. So we need to see the policing aspect of prosecution and the courts of law also being applied. That's a major part of law enforcement. So although officers are trained for the gathering of evidence, to conduct investigations, and to arrest perpetrators, they are also trained to survive the prosecutorial process so that you can win your case going forward against defense lawyers. And that is where the swords are drawn. So therefore, I would strongly recommend that there be some situational scenario type training being introduced at national security level within the police service to carry officers through rigorous prosecutorial processes, from rigorous defense strategies to be able to survive that going forward on key issues. For instance, illegal narcotics, for interception of narcotics, gang warfare, white collar crime, fraud, some of these key issues that may be plaguing us. Let us have some situational and scenario type prosecutorial training, real life court sessions, as there was at one time through the Special Anti-Crime Unit, where mock courts were set up, and officers can understand what it is to be in that gael in order to win your cases going forward. Otherwise, if we don't, and there's a simple statement that is used when we trained officers in the old days: treat every crime scene like a homicide, you leave no stones unturned. We have to start overturning all the stones and equipping our officers outside of just investigations and policing and blue flashing lights, but to survive.
But there's a big presumption in that, Gavin. I'll tell you what the presumption is. The presumption, and it's a really sad presumption to make, to have to even speak about, is that all the officers investigating that crime scene want the perpetrators to be brought to justice, and they're not in league with some of the perpetrators. That's a sad statement to make, but a big presumption to make, that all the officers who are investigating that crime scene want the perpetrators brought to justice, and they're not part of the problem themselves.
Yeah. Well,
Do you think
you wouldn't make that presumption, Pablo, if you know it wasn't supported by the hurt and the pain and the scars of seeing it every day played out before you. So I respect your view.
Do you think the national security infrastructure, and I'm including the TTPS, of course, in this, do you think it is sufficiently motivated to solve the crime problems that we currently face?
We go further to that, Richard. We could say, are they really motivated to come out and do their jobs every day, day in, day out, night and day, putting their lives on the line? Part of that being solving crime, part of that being controlling and maintaining a certain amount of order in key areas. That is where the issue. I think there's and I say this, guardedly, but there seems to be a below the line sort of morale. I don't think all of the police services is motivated at this time. There are some HR issues. I would have spoken a long time ago that if we are to begin addressing, having that conversation concerning national security and crime and criminality and the police service, go at the HR issues first. There are a number of police officers who are disgruntled based on HR decisions or lack thereof, and the morale is low. There is a break in the connectivity between leadership and other divisions. So there seems to be a need now for a certain amount of what I'll call, a fire needs to start burning, a flame needs to start burning there to bring back that sort of camaraderie. People are operating on their own within their divisions. There's a break in that linkage. So morale is definitely low. And on a low morale system, more demands are being placed on these men and women who have to face issues financially and socially and health issues to treat with their personal spaces, to treat with their families, but yet still go out there and put their lives on the line. And I think this conversation, guys, is extended beyond into 2024. We have to look at ways and means, and I'm hoping that there's some priority file before the minister or even the commissioner as that reviewing the TTPS and how we do business going into 2024, because what we're going to do is drag and tail everything from 2021, 2022 out into 2024, never really dealing with it. And we can't be putting plasters and gunshot wounds. There is a low morale in the force, and we need to understand what is the source of that and begin addressing it probably in a phased development approach.
Richard, can I take a dig at answering that same question you asked Gavin? My answer is no. You know why? It's all about promotion and pension. We read this morning on our program, 3 names that will go forward for deputy commissioners of police: Natasha George, Junior Benjamin, and Wendell Lucas. We currently have 2 people sitting at the commissioner's side who are acting deputy commissioners of police. Their names are not there,
No, correct.
So you can imagine the moral, the breakdown in their and the people in their own life and the people who support them. It is just a mess. The TTPS is a mess. I don't want to go as far as to Svi or whoever that is to say disband the TTPS, but they need to restart it somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and what about the issue just recently with the corporals who were promoted, and then there's now an injunction, I think, that has stopped it, and the commissioner has stopped it after it was approved.
Yeah, morale is non-existent in that police service. Promotion
as the year comes to a close, have you seen any positives in the actions of national security and/or law enforcement in the past year?
That was for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some. You've seen some snippets of positivity. You've seen some good interceptions. Some cases being brought before the court. Some arrests being made. In all fairness, yes. So there have been some. Could we have seen more? Yes. Are we still in a uphill climb? Yes. I would like to see see more of the defense force as we deal with border security. Having those type of actions being taken and seen and shown and exhibited. But yeah, I mean, in all fairness, there have been some good aspects of positivity, especially in how we do stuff. Community-wise, you've seen me reaching out, some of the working with the youth in some areas, but I'm not seeing a holistic sort of development and positivity. You're seeing it in little snippets, So, we have to take all of that and apply it from a holistic point of view so that we can be identified by a commonality, and I'm not seeing that yet.
I see Jamaica is going potentially the route of getting the top female law enforcement officer in New York to help with their crime fighting efforts. Is outside help
she offered to help? I don't think
she offered to help, but I say but they were having a conversation. And we've gone the route of outside help before. My personal view is that they chose the wrong people. Right? And also in Canada, isn't that fighting crime in Trinidad and Tobago. But that doesn't mean we should throw the baby up with the bathwater. It's outside. And the police have said they collaborated with international counterparts in getting training and stuff. But is that the answer or part of the answer?
Yeah, I would always say yes, but there's a thin line in all of this, team, and that is outside help, not to replace, but outside help to complement, because crime, organized crime, transnational organized crime has its international tentacles, as we mentioned before. It's far-reaching, and therefore some of the new methodologies and strategies that are being used in some countries, the science of policing and crime fighting can be very well worth the effort here in Trinidad and Tobago. There was a time in country when we had UK officers on the ground as police officers, assisting and complementing and supporting us in new approaches and how we did investigations. It's not a new thing, and I think we have had models before that worked. Why not tweak those models so that we could apply it again in this new realm of crime and criminality that is plaguing the nation? So I am all for that. There have been something that existed a long time before, and I stand to be corrected, but it's still being continued, called SMEs, SMWS, and that is subject matter expert exchanges, where you can have a subject matter expert from Trinidad working with the police service in New York, or working with the police service with the with Canada, very good system, or even Scotland Yard, some of the other places, and you have those officers here working in Trinidad. So there's a subject matter expert exchange. We learn from them, they learn from us, and that has happened even with Venezuela, where there was Ventry in the old days. And Venezuelan Trinidadian officers working back and forth, especially with the border, with intelligence sharing. It is not a new thing, but it can be improved so as to help us develop. We can't be territorial about this. We have to be open to invite expertise into our system so as to support us with some of the new techniques. Because trust me, while we sit and fight with those minor arm wrestles, the criminals have done the opposite. They have exposed and invited international support. They're working with their international criminal friends, and they have established networks of criminality internationally. And I'm speaking as a regional security expert. This is happening. If you look at the crime pattern in Trinidad, wait now, but this happened in St. Vincent, this happened in Barbados, this happened in Jamaica, this is happening in quiet, peaceful St. Lucia. There is a connectivity, guys. And therefore, we as law enforcement have to realize, that, wait a minute, the criminals have established internationalism in how they operate. Why are we not doing that so as to build our perimeters, our fence lines, and our layers of security to treat some of the threats that we are facing?
Are we taking calls?
I hope we can.
I know Steve and I spoke to, are we going to be talking about the Guyana-Venezuela issue too?
Yeah, well,
I didn't move into that. Let's go down that road. What do you think? There's a meeting planned for Thursday in St. Vincent.
Yeah.
It's been quite contentious. We have the region is under the microscope now as a region traditionally of peace, but now I see Brazilian President Da Silva has said that if Venezuela goes into Guyana, he will cut ties with Venezuela. CARICOM had a meeting and has firmly planted its support behind Guyana in this regard, in terms of maintaining the status quo until it's amicably resolved. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I have been looking at the situation. I've been involved in some joint research and information sharing with Dr. Moreira out of Brazil. She has done a great piece regarding the whole history. And, this thing started since 1841, went into 1962 with Dr. Falcon Bricino, who pushed back and said, hey, we don't want any part of this treaty thing. Treaty of Washington was done. They didn't want that. I'm hoping that maybe the Treaty of SVG or the St. Vincent Accord will bring some sort of sense to this. But there has continued to be tension. And why? Because, that whole issue of the oil and gas. Don't dismiss the fact that Plataforma Deltana, I don't know if you're aware of this, in our southeastern, just on the border of our territorial waters, Plataforma Deltana by Venezuela is encouraging Chevron, BP, Shell to begin drilling. Venezuela is doing that for oil and gas, and that's close to Venezuela, close to Guyana, close to Trinidad. But at the Essequibo, Guyana Essequibo, that situation warrants an attention. And I would like to keep it home to Trinidad and Tobago. What are we doing outside of the great points made by Honorable Dr. Amory Brown about our diplomacy and standing with CARICOM? We as a country are expected to be doing certain things. And I think we can look at it. What's the action plan? There are three main areas of action items that we need to look at. One of them is maintaining our sovereignty and our economical ties with Venezuela and Guyana to a lesser extent, but we are umbilically connected based on certain decisions. Manatee never really got off where it's supposed to go. That's something that is developing. The Dragon gas issue, so we have some economic linkages. That's one issue, sovereignty, humanitarian. We have to look at that. The second one is today or tomorrow, that talk fails in St. Vincent. There's a greater situation of escalation, of conflict, because we have Brazil amassing arms on the border, arms and ammunition and personnel, Guyana amassing arms, ammunition and personnel on the border, and Venezuela doing the same thing. So we have tension on the border in our peaceful Caribbean. And therefore, if today or tomorrow, Western allies, remember guys, we're 7 minutes from Venezuela and approximately 1 hour flight out from Guyana, decides to use Trinidad as a staging base because that conflict went in the next direction. Are we prepared as a country? Have we been discussing it? Have we been looking at some of the contingencies and what we have to put in place as national security? And then thirdly, our third action item is deployment of troops. Grenada revolution, we saw that humanitarian issues, we saw that Haiti, we saw that as CARICOM troops. Is Trinidad and Tobago, who are presently facing an immense crime and criminality and national security challenge on the ground, presently with our resources, now have to deploy personnel. Have we identified who are these people? Have we identified how we're going to deploy? Have we identified the financing and the funding and the resources to move troops from here to Guyana, whether the peacekeeping or to maintain border patrol and the Escriba? So those are three very heavy action items in country that we have to be facing. So understanding the diplomacy of standing with CARICOM, there is some internal homeland work that we have to be doing and identify those three action items, and hopefully national security. I advise at this point, put a strategic team in place immediately, subject matter experts, doesn't have to be serving members, who understands that issue of conflict and border, who can begin to do research-driven, informed decisions to assist the hierarchy in making the right decisions now that we may have to play an integral role in all of this. There should be a team that is brainstorming in a room at this point on all of the contingencies and asking the what ifs, so that when the situation hits us, we would have been ready to deploy, ready to protect, or more importantly, ready to accommodate should it be our Western allies. And I think that's the stand that we need to see.
Going back to the crime in Trinidad and Tobago, do you think that the proposed crime talks will ever get off the ground? And given where they are now, I crack a joke.
No, well,
you laughing when I say crime talks. Do I just say crime talks and you start to laugh? Why?
I was about to say that because that was my ending point. So I was wondering, how come you from there could see into my notes? Because under all of this, Pablo, team, Rich, Wendell, Steve, under all of this Trinidad and Tobago, we still have a crime talk to take place, eh? And we still have is it going to come off or not? We're 2 weeks into Christmas, we're into Carnival. So while we are prepping hoses to out fires in other areas, there's a major fire burning here with the crime talk, and I'm hoping that crime talk comes off the ground. I don't know how, I don't know who, but it's important. But I read an article recently that time for talking done. But maybe a conversation so as to identify the way forward and what is expected of us. Define some clear objectives.
But then what does it tell you that they can't even go and sit in a room after weeks and weeks and weeks of talks and propositions for talks, while, as the old saying goes, Rome burns?
Yeah, for real. And Rome continues to burn. That fire looked like it's really lit with some gas, because it is not stepping down. We're not seeing a drop. We're not seeing some sort of declination. We're seeing that this thing is continuing to rage, and we are facing issues on a weekly, daily basis of crime that warrants a decision. But I'm saying, guys, it needs to move out of just a talk, because it could just be passed as a talk and a good PR campaign and a photo up. That has to be
how can it move out of just talk if they haven't even spoken yet?
Well, here we are playing a
political. You were saying they need to move out and just talk. They can't even seem to come to an agreement to sit in a room together to discuss the most burning issue facing Trinidad and Tobago.
No, you're correct. And how poor little Gavin Hero here could answer that if those guys were the. I'm not even in that salary range to start thinking that.
They are going to debate the ascension of 3 officers to the post of Deputy Commissioners of Police on Wednesday in the House of Representatives. Right? They're going to put the names on the table, tout the accolades, the experience, the credentials, etc., which is quite appropriate, normal run of things.
Yeah.
Appoint them to the positions of Deputy Commissioners of Police, which is necessary in the scheme of things, but can't sit down to talk. And what are your thoughts on the issue of these senior officers being sent on leave at this time? Is it curious to you, or is it normal around the things? Do you see more in the mortar than the pestle with that?
Yeah, remember we started the conversation with HR blunders. So that is something that should have been detected a long time ago. How these leaves are, the leave issue of some of these people, it's been adding up and whatever. But they're key profiles, key portfolios, and with proper succession planning and proper approach to leadership, it would have been okay for senior officers to go on leave, because the succession planning and that sort of depositing into the second in commands would have been, it happens in all aspects, not only law enforcement, in the corporate sector. But the main fact that if someone is removed from a position that the thing falls apart, then that sends a signal. Then what has been happening with the succession planning and the strategies and maintaining some of the key objectives and KPIs going forward? If that was not taking place, then someone coming out of the top having to go on excessive leave is going to leave a void. And I don't know if part of that is disciplinary. I don't have the exposure or the vision to see inside of that.
Stick up in there, Gavin. Stick up in right there, because that was my next question. Don't answer that part until I ask you this. Do you think then that it is about performance why they have been asked to take their leave, or it is because their leave actually accumulated? I ask you that in the context of that crime has run away in all the divisions, right? And these are people who are heading certain divisions and so on. So do you believe that this reason of them accumulating leave is just an excuse?
It could very well be the response of the system to appear as though it was a cumulative leave, and it could be a disciplinary action. It could be a lack of performance, failure to achieve. But I will go further to say there needs to be a certain amount of boldness from the voice of the executive to say why, and not make excuses and be real, so that we will understand that, and others will understand that if you don't perform, then you can easily be sent on leave. But I'm
agreeing with that. In other words, I would have said, as commissioner, I would say, see these divisions, yes, they have gone nowhere under these gentlemen's watch. It is getting worse. We need to change these heads of these places to get a better. So it will send the message.
But how can
you
not
raise IRSU?
Because you cannot say that in the public if you have not done a proper HRIR performance assessment and according to established metrics. You can't just say that. That's going to open up. It's not a matter of being honest. There's a procedure involved. If you were in a corporation, if someone went to the public and said, when their statement is not performing, but you didn't have a proper performance appraisal, how would you feel?
People can be challenged. People can be
challenged. Talk about my performance,
I think maybe they are erring on the side of being more tactical about it, and they may be seeing it as tactical in utilizing what they have available to remove certain people from certain positions in a way that does not raise an IRSU.
Yeah, strategic. They have to stay in lane. And you're quite correct, Richard. But it comes back to both Wendell's and Paul's point that exposure to being challenged is there are lawyers waiting to fight cases for promotion, fight cases. But you told me that I needed to tick these boxes. I've ticked these boxes. Why are you saying I'm not performing?
But on the other hand, you have one of these senior officers on television, despite the stated policy of the police service about consistent wearing of body cams, especially in high engagement scenarios, saying they buy the wrong body cam. And the body cam go jump up and jump off, and it will be off. And so, I mean, it's like left hand going left, the right hand going green. It's like you don't know what to think.
Yeah. Well, certain practices and pronouncements we've seen from many officers is a tolerance that we allow to happen over a period now that the horse has bolted. We're trying to pull it back, where people say certain things, and that you see that dissection. It's thing like it cut up in all kind of pieces, and there isn't a holistic, as I talked about earlier, that commonality of a viewpoint. The old saying of a practice over a period unmolested becomes law, means that people now believe that they can say anything and without fear of being challenged or brought before some sort of disciplinary committee. So,
but Gavin, isn't the word for that in discipline?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is it a disciplinary issue? And if it's in discipline, how come we are able to have a conversation thinking that it might be, we are probably suspicious of that or allegedly that it might be discipline, but there is no sort of profiling, there is no sort of evidence to prove that. Okay, the police business is the police business. You'll be told that quite firmly, stay out of the police business. But at the end of the day, accountability and that reflection of transparency for the citizenry, and again, I come back to the fact of a voice that oversight is paramount and important, and that goes beyond media releases. That goes beyond PR campaigns. The transparency of how you do business as the arm of the law for the country needs to be reflected in an open way so that we understand how you do business.
But I don't think the TTPS is interested in being that transparent, and they're going to use the issue of security and that if
classification.
Yeah, and that if you air too much of your dirty laundry, it breaks the confidence of the institution.
Yeah.
So there is a certain amount of institutional protection that is going to take
But the
place.
laundry is being aired on TV every evening. What's the point?
Well, yes, but that goes back to the indiscipline, because if it is, you go back to that simple thing of body cams. Either you wear the body cams or not, and if you're not wearing the body cams, you will be disciplined. But we have never heard any police officer being disciplined for not wearing body cams.
Richard and Paul, guys, the body cam issue wasn't even as bad as the one that where you're telling a gang leader, you take control of your men or we will have you change. That was worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Body cams is one thing. The receiving of the information from the body cam, the situational awareness and the decision making for responses to support a unit that is addressing a crime scene, and the body cams are on picking up certain type of what I'll call crime and behavior and trends and escalation of certain issues has to be received back at some sort of command center where there's a response. That what I just discussed and described here existed at one time, but what we are asking now is, where is that? So it's not just body cams, it's the concept of operations that supports the body cam. And we can extend this conversation until tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, but Brendan and Richard are right, Gavin, because the police hierarchy and the Prime Minister are both saying that the police are not in a position, there's no policy in the government for the police to be negotiating with gang leaders. And a senior police officer is making a statement about, we letting all you do all your things to manage your people. What is the public to think?
Yeah, exactly. One thing saying one thing, another thing saying another, next thing. I was just about to not make matters worse, but even to talk about the bracelets. Those I don't know how to describe it because how we are explaining it to this morning, but that issue too kind of ties in with some of this. Yeah, exactly. So there's some challenges outside there, and whether we're negotiating or not negotiating with gangsters, I think it's a stand that needs to happen now, that there's a certain amount of oxygen that has been given to the gangster and to the gang culture, and I said that we need to put a stop to that. We cannot be identifying that as part of our social fabric. We need to denounce that, and we need to take a firm stand against the gang culture that is rising in this country, because it is beginning to show that it has more prominence, and we can't afford the headlines and the media and that especially what's taking place on social media, to give that type of oxygen.
Anyway, thanks so much, Gavin, for joining us this morning.
Yep.
Gentlemen, I couldn't let today's program end on YouTube without wishing one of our biggest fans happy birthday. Lystra Park, clean forgetter, former deputy CEO of Port of Spain Corporation. Happy birthday, Lystra. I clean forget. Sorry, my apologies. All right, thank you, Gavin. Gentlemen, let go and let God.
Yeah.
Good day, guys.
Happy birthday, Lystra.
All right, Gavin. Every day, be safe.
Thanks a lot, Gavin. Yeah, of course, this is where we wrap up the Power Breakfast Show this morning. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do. It is Monday. But guess what? It's the Christmas season, so a smile should be on your face.